Have you ever wondered why you keep insisting on something that hurts so much? The truth is harsh, but it needs to be said. Loving shouldn't hurt. And if it hurts all the time, maybe it's not even love. It's anxious attachment, fear of being alone, low self-esteem, or even an unresolved childhood story. We learn to confuse love with emotional suffering, and the next thing we know, we're trapped in a toxic relationship, calling emotional abuse care and control affection. The most shocking thing? Many women don't even realize they're living in unhealthy love. They normalize the unacceptable because they have been taught to swallow their tears, to see rejection as a challenge, and to prove themselves all the time in order to deserve crumbs. That's not romance. This is self-sabotage disguised as loyalty. And while they're trying to keep the relationship alive, they're losing themselves, day after day, silence after silence. If you feel that something isn't right, but you can't explain it, if you're tired, anxious, afraid of making a mistake or being abandoned, this video is for you. Let's understand together how love can become a prison, and above all, how to get out of it. Because nobody came into this world to be held hostage by destructive relationships. There is life after emotional pain. And it begins when you choose yourself. She started out thinking it was just his way. He was a bit of a bully, a bit of a control freak. But deep down, she told herself, he only wanted the best. And so, between apologies and forced silences, she began to shape up. She stopped talking, loudly, wearing certain clothes and giving opinions. She called what was actually emotional abuse love. What's worse, she came to believe that this toxic relationship was normal. Many women grow up seeing their mothers belittled, humiliated, or ignored. As adults, they repeat the cycle without even realizing that they are hurting themselves. They accept shouting as just letting off steam, control as care, and contempt as lack of time. Emotional pain becomes routine, and unhealthy love masquerades as stability. The brain gets used to the discomfort, and the heart learns to call emotional suffering romance. If she feels she needs to shut up to keep the peace, that's already a sign. Real love doesn't force anyone to shut up. If you can relate to this, observe. How many times a week do you swallow your tears to avoid a fight? How many times have you justified the unjustifiable? These are the first signs of destructive relationships. And without realizing it, they enter a cycle, which only gets worse when the fear of losing becomes their way of life. She wakes up and already feels the weight. Will he be in a good mood today? Her every move is carefully calculated. The tone of her voice, the timing of her messages, even the subjects she chooses to talk about. It's like walking on eggs. All the time, afraid of provoking a reaction. That's not living. It's surviving in an emotional minefield, where anxious attachment turns love into constant tension. The fear of being abandoned shouts louder than self-respect. Many women with rejection wounds, or who grew up without feeling emotionally accepted, end up believing that they need to deserve love. And to do so, they cancel themselves out. They stop saying what they think, expressing emotional limits and taking a stand. Living in this way makes any drop of attention seem like an ocean, even when it's mixed with emotional abuse. She begins to wonder why she is always exhausted, why she feels alone even when accompanied. The truth is that when a woman needs to prove all the time that she is worthy of love, she is no longer in a relationship. She is trapped in a cycle of self-sabotage, and this cycle is even crueler when, even though she gives it her all, she keeps hearing that it's not enough. She does her best, and yet he pretends not to see. She makes coffee, supports his dreams, swallows frogs, silences pain, and the return: criticism, indifference, or worse, comparisons with other people. Little by little, she comes to believe that the problem lies with her, and this belief begins to erode what's left of her self-esteem, until she wonders if she really deserves so little. This is where many women spiral into destructive relationships. They think that if they are good enough, they will finally receive the love they have been waiting for. But they don't understand that the problem isn't a lack of effort. It's the emotional hunger of someone who uses devaluation as a form of control. At that point, emotional abuse has already set in, and every crumb of affection becomes a reward for canceling yourself out. To get out of it, the first step is to notice the pattern. She can start by asking herself, why do I insist on pleasing someone who is never satisfied? The answer may hurt, but it frees her, because her true value doesn't depend on the approval of someone who has never seen her light. And when she begins to understand this, something inside her begins to awaken, even if it's still in silence. He disappears, goes silent, cools down. Then he comes back as if nothing had happened. And she, relieved, accepts, without realizing that she is being taught to obey. It's as if love were on sale, but only for those who follow its rules. Affection becomes a prize, and its absence a punishment. This makes her ill, because her heart begins to live in an eternal minefield. This emotional game leaves deep scars. One day he compliments, the next he ignores. A good morning depends on his mood. And what about her? She starts to mold herself, prune herself, keep quiet, just so she doesn't lose this false love. It's classic emotional abuse that manipulates through affection and installs the fear of making mistakes even in silence. What was once a relationship has now become survival. If she wants to break this cycle, she needs to look at the patterns. Real love is not a favor you get for good behavior. And a good way to identify this is, do I feel safe even when I disagree with him? If the answer is no, perhaps it's not love. It's control in disguise. And where there is control, emotional suffering soon grows. She doesn't realize it right away, but little by little, her body begins to shout what her heart is trying to silence. Insomnia becomes routine, anxiety, a weight on her chest. Emotional exhaustion takes over, even when the day has been calm. And the feeling is that she lives more to recover from her wounds than to actually live. That's when love, which seemed so intense, reveals its darker side. Toxic relationships have this effect. They steal vital energy. The woman begins to feel that she has lost her sparkle, her pleasure in simple things. What used to be laughter is now effort, and she tries to justify it. It's just a phase. He'll change. I'm too sensitive. But deep down she knows. She knows she's paying too much for a love that should be healing, not making her ill. It's at this point that the call for change is born, when she realizes that she has lost her very essence in order to maintain a relationship that sucks more than it adds. Signs such as constant bouts of crying, fear of speaking out, feelings of inadequacy, all of this needs to be taken seriously. Because when love gets sick, the next step is to choose. Keep losing yourself little by little, or start saving yourself. So answer me honestly. How long will you continue to call love what destroys you inside? How long will you accept emotional pain as if it were part of the package? Life is too short to live putting out fires in a toxic relationship, trying to survive where you should flourish. If something makes you sick, it's not love. It's a cycle of self-sabotage and emotional suffering dressed up as intense passion. Perhaps you recognized yourself at more than one point in this video. If so, that's not weakness, it's courage. The courage to see, the courage to admit it, and above all, the courage to change. What are you going to do with this knowledge now? Will you ignore it and carry on? Or are you going to start setting emotional limits and putting yourself first? Let us know in the comments which part moved you the most. Tell me, have you ever experienced a love that felt more like pain than affection? And if this content has helped you in any way, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because there are still a lot of important things we need to talk about, and I want to help you get out of destructive relationships and build a lighter, freer, and truer emotional life.